Hello, besties. Welcome back to the world of sister wives, where all that looks calm on the surface is actually boiling underneath. For today, we are not talking about rumors. And this isn't about drama for the cameras. This is about something that happened off camera, something which shook everyone around him, even the people still defending him today. Let's rewind to the end of 2024. Kody was already on the defensive. Christine had moved on, Janelle was done pretending, and Mary had quietly walked away. Because besties, this is where it gets real. In November 2024, yes, the same month Christine's child support filing hit the Utah courts, something else took place. Something that did not make it into the show. A child innocently mentioning that dad's selling part of the property, not knowing that what he had just said would expose a secret years in the making. Christine was speechless. She wasn't angry, not yet. She was hurt, because this wasn't just about money or land. It was about the principle, about being erased again, this time legally. The irony? Just weeks before that, Kody sat down in front of the cameras saying he wished Christine would stop being angry and move on. But behind the scenes, he was still pulling strings, the same strings he'd used for years to stay in control. Christine didn't publicly comment on that sale. She didn't post any confusing quote. She didn't even tell her close friends right away. Because while Kody was busy painting himself as the victim of an ungrateful ex, Christine was quietly gathering the receipts and waiting for the right moment to let the truth speak for itself. And when that finally happened, it hit harder than any could have imagined. Because Christine didn't just question Kody's words, she questioned his whole identity. His good man image, his fatherhood, his leadership. Christine had spent years trying to believe in the version of Kody that the cameras showed us. The charming dad, the spiritual leader, the good man holding it all together. But behind the scenes, that version of Kody was starting to crumble. Hi, besties. Let's talk about the secret that shattered what was left of that illusion. She realized that for years, every family financial decision was designed to protect one person. Kody. She had believed him when he said it was all for the family, that the money was communal. Even the so-called family fund that they all contributed to wasn't actually accessible to everyone. Kody had built a house of mirrors, and everyone else was living in the reflection. It's hard to imagine how that must have felt for Christine. The irony is that after dedicating years to raising kids, supporting the show, smiling through hurt, and being told to trust the process, she learned she'd been written out of Thestry financially long before she walked out emotionally. He calls himself a good man. But good men don't hide things that could destroy their families. That was it, the moment Christine stopped protecting Kody's image. She started pulling away publicly. Her interviews became sharper, her tone more assertive. But she still wasn't spilling the whole truth. Not yet. Because what she knew could change everything, not just for her, but for sister wives as a brand. It was the story TLC had sold for years, the charismatic patriarch holding together an intricate family dynamic. If that illusion broke, so did the whole foundation of the show. And Christine knew that. That's why when she spoke out, she was careful, strategic. She let her words fall softly, but what she meant rang like thunder. In one interview, she said, "A good man doesn't need to remind people he's good. People already know." Meanwhile, Kody's behavior got worse. Behind the cameras, he was calling producers, demanding they edit things fairly. He was paranoid that Christine's side of the story was going to make him look bad. But it was too late. Because while Christine hadn't aired absolutely everything in public just yet, the truth was out there all the same, whispered between friends, spilled across court documents, echoing in her calm smile every time his name was spoken. Kody was losing control, not just of his wives, but of the story itself. And that's what terrified him most. Because when Christine finally decided to tell the truth, she wasn't going to scream or cry. She was going to let the facts speak for themselves. They weren't just about the money. They were about loyalty, manipulation, and one decision Kody made that even his most loyal defenders couldn't justify. And once you hear what happened, next you'll understand exactly why Christine said what she did. Sometimes a single decision reveals more about a person than years of words ever could. And for Kody Brown, that decision came when he was forced to choose between his pride and his family. After Christine found out that Kody sold part of the family property behind her back, she didn't immediately confront him. She waited. She wanted to see if he'd tell her the truth on his own. Weeks turned into months. Yet behind closed doors, he was panicking. And when Kody can't control the reaction, that's when he loses his balance. And then one afternoon he called her. The cameras weren't rolling. There was no production team, no TLC rep. It was just Kody and Christine, and for the first time in years, there was no script. He said something that would later haunt him. Christine didn't raise her voice. She just asked calmly, "And what about what's ours?" Because the truth was simple. Kody had stopped seeing anything as ours long ago. In that one conversation, Christine realized what she had suspected for years. The family wasn't a partnership anymore. It was a performance. Here's where it gets even darker, besties. Shortly thereafter, producers called Christine to shoot what was described to her as a closure scene, a final sit-down with Kody to wrap up the storyline. But Christine hesitated. How do you even get closure from someone who still thinks that he owns your piece? Finally, she agreed, on one condition. The cameras had to keep rolling, no matter what was said. No retakes and no editing around the truth. But what the audience didn't see was the conversation before the cameras started. A production insider later spilled that Kody insisted on seeing the questions in advance, a request he had never made before. He wanted to protect his image. Christine said no. She told the producers, "If this is supposed to be real, then it needs to be real." And Kody's face, they said, turned red with anger. That was the moment Christine knew the man sitting across from her wasn't her husband anymore. When the cameras finally rolled, Christine remained calm. Kody accused, deflected, justified. But she didn't flinch. Because while he was performing for the viewers, she was speaking to the people who knew, the women, the mothers, the survivors who understood what it means to be gaslit and blamed for someone else's chaos. And when she said, "I'm done apologizing for wanting peace," it wasn't a breakup moment at all. It was a mirror held up to years of manipulation and control, and people saw it. From that day forward, Kody's good man narrative was cracked wide open. But here's the thing, besties, that confrontation wasn't the end. It was just the spark. Because right after that, something happened off camera, something that Christine never wanted to make public, that would expose Kody's deepest insecurity. And when it came out, even TLC couldn't protect him. When a man builds his entire identity on control, to lose it isn't just painful, it's humiliating. And Kody Brown was about to learn that lesson in the hardest way possible. Because what you didn't see is that once the cameras stopped rolling, Kody broke down. Not emotionally, not with guilt, but with rage. Insiders say the moment Christine walked off set, Kody stormed out of the studio. Told one of the producers, "If Christine thinks she's going to make me look like the bad guy, she's wrong." He didn't need anyone's help to look like the bad guy. His words, his actions, did all that themselves. Behind the scenes, it all started to fall apart. Kody's calls to producers became more frequent and more desperate. He wanted to reshoot scenes, rewrite moments, even cut Christine's footage from upcoming episodes. TLC said no. They told him the footage was too powerful. Viewers needed to see the real dynamic. And that's when the real Kody started to show. He began to badmouth Christine in group chats with his older kids, sending messages like how she'd ruined everything. Some of the kids just stopped responding. One even blocked him. For a man who prided himself on being the head of the family, it was a brutal reality check. Meanwhile, Christine did not speak out publicly. No cryptic quotes, no passive-aggressive posts. Just quiet confidence. Behind that calm, she was documenting everything. Every message, every phone call, every attempt by Kody to twist the story. Within weeks, tabloids picked up whispers of a sealed case involving Kody and Christine, something connected to child support, property, and behavior clauses tied to their divorce. People began to toast questions online. Why were court records sealed? Why was Kody avoiding public events? The same audience that once sympathized with him during his split from Mary and Janelle saw the pattern now. The same defensiveness. Kody wasn't evolving. He was unraveling. In it, Kody could be heard blaming Christine for turning the family against him, calling her vindictive, and even saying that she'll regret ever leaving. That clip spread like wildfire. TLC didn't comment, but fans didn't need confirmation. They knew that voice. The voice of a man who'd lost control. Christine didn't comment publicly. As Kody tried to save face, the network started quietly shifting its focus. Less Kody the patriarch, more Christine the survivor. But Kody wasn't going down quietly. This time, it wasn't just about reputation. It was about revenge. There's one look every liar gives when they realize the truth is no longer theirs to control, and it's a look that Kody had the last time he tried to spin the story. After years of excuses, interviews, and rehearsed apologies, Kody Brown is finally being seen for who he really is. Not the man on the show, not the husband with a dozen explanations, but the person behind the curtain. The one who used words like good man as armor while quietly breaking every promise that phrase was supposed to mean. If you were a good man, Kody, then why did you do this? It wasn't just a question. It was a statement. A line in the sand. The story isn't over, and yet someone else just started talking. Someone close to Kody still. Because when the next truth comes out, and it won't just be a story about betrayal or pride. It's about what someone else finally dared to say about him.